Hi, everyone. It's Andrea Quagenti. I'm here with Angela. Um, we are here for our new call. This is our second week. We're talking about unschooling or self-directed education. We use those words interchangeably. We would like to eventually go live in the self-directed education Facebook group. We haven't exactly got that figured out. So we're going to record this and I'll upload it to my YouTube and then share it with the group. So hopefully we'll be able to actually go live soon. But I think that this is just as good. We'll record the conversation, and if anybody wants to watch it, you can watch it on YouTube.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Angela here, back again. Yeah, I know we're having issues with the lives, but hey, we're going to go ahead and do the call anyways. And also every week, just in case we should have it figured out by next week, but just in case we don't, there is a link on the post where you can register for free for the weekly Zoom. So it'll record to Zoom and you can join the conversation there as well.
Yes. Yeah. And so everyone is welcome. I think if you really want to join the conversation, the best place is to come on the Zoom. And I think if you just want to watch it later, then the best place, then you could watch it on Facebook live or after. And if we can't get the Facebook Live, then we will upload it on YouTube. So you'll be able to find it somewhere. Awesome. Yay. So I had a topic come up this week, and I thought it would be good to talk about this on the call because it's so common, and it's the financial aspect of home, whether you're homeschooling or unschooling. This, COVID has been pretty tough on me financially. I'm a single mom. I'm also a solo mom. So I have full custody of my daughter, who's 8. She's with me all the time. So, and because we chose to homeschool, there is not much time for me to work, to have a job, to get a job. Just to give a little background, and when we began homeschooling before COVID, there was a lot of homeschooling programs. So when she did go to a homeschooling program, I was working for myself with a small business, but that has tapered off since COVID. And I know that other families as well, trying to figure out if you choose the unschooling route, so there's a parent that's going to school the children, that's me in this case. But that parent, then it takes a huge chunk of their time, if not all of their time, to care for, now you're not only a parent, but you're also the teacher. And so a lot of families end up with a loss of income. So now you may have one parent working, or in my case, I'm the only parent. So I just thought it would be nice to talk about some strategies if homeschooling or unschooling is really important, about some ways that you can make it happen, and get over, deal with the challenge of the finances. So yeah, I thought that would be nice. I've been really fired up this week, and I think it's because it's like new moon and new year and the tiger. And so don't take it personally, Angela, if you're sensing my passion and excitement and frustration as well comes with it.
Oh, yay. No, I love the excitement. Yeah, I think this topic is super relevant. And I think that a lot of times finances can actually be, so they're kind of like our gift, in terms of even financial struggle can be our gift, because they offer us a glimpse into where our beliefs lie. So many times we use the symbol of money as a limiting belief. The money is the permission slip to allow us to do what we want to do or not, depending on how much is in the bank account. So in my practice, there has been to use that symbol of money to be flexible, to really get a good look at where I'm holding my beliefs, and to then allow myself to step into the life that I actually want to live, despite symbols that I may have put up, like a symbol of there not being enough money in the bank account or whatever, because it's always fluctuating. And what I mean by that is, it's not necessarily that you're just going to be like, oh, I want a mansion and 2 sports cars in the driveway. You know, that's not necessarily the living the life of that speaks to your heart that I'm talking about. However, that might play into it. It's just not the core of it. What the core is paying attention to what like theme you want to live, like what is the core beliefs that you want to live from. Now, the reason why this is relevant to self-directed education is because self-directed education or unschooling is a core belief. It's a core way that we look at how children learn, you know, how we want to actually parent. Those things are what I would consider things that you actually need and you're totally worthy of. You're totally worthy of whatever speaks to your heart. So despite of what's in the bank account, I believe I have that core. I just remind myself, oh, wait a minute. What is actually true for me is totally livable. I don't need to be in fear. And then we start to see things like maybe financial struggle or financial stressful times as our gift, because what they're doing is they're highlighting how perhaps we have fallen into the belief that I can't live the life that I want. And I need certain things, certain permission from physical things to allow me to give myself permission to step into the life that I want. And when we see that pop up, it feels negative. It feels like restricting. And that's just our indicator that we're holding a restricting belief. And when we look at that and then step into life with a new belief, like it takes a little courage, right? Like stepping into the unknown, we actually tell life, no, I'm going to live from this new belief. And I have found that life reflects that back. So end of spiel.
Thank you. I knew that you were going to give a really, you know, an awesome perspective, and I love it. And I think that I do live that way. I just don't explain it as well as you do. So my philosophy has been, you know what, I believe in freedom. I believe in self-directed education. My daughter and I love this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And we'll just let the finances work itself out. And you know, at the end of the day, we're doing all right. You know, we're doing good. We're still looking at taking an awesome trip this year, and that's amazing. But I have had, especially this year, some of that stress and second, doubting and worries and challenges about the financial end. So it's nice to look at those that stress coming in as actually like a gift, so I think that working it from that angle is very important. And I also think just to also like really ground it, I know that when I was on the Association for Self-Directed Education weekend, which was super awesome, they really went into some specifics. So I think I'll just share some of those. And if other ideas come up for you, Angela, just so other people can have some ideas of, with some strategies that if this is super important to you, I think the most important thing is to work on those beliefs and come into alignment that, yes, at the end of the day, I have a right to educate my child the way that seems fit. And we are worthy of a freedom-based lifestyle, and we're worthy of following our passion, for sure. So coming back into check with those affirmations and core beliefs are important. And so, so for me this year and since COVID, we've applied for a lot of assistance. And that took me a little while to embrace, I guess would be a good word. So, but it's been working well, to be quite honest. You know, we were qualified for some state stuff, and it's somehow it's come together. So we are making ends meet, and I think a big hurdle for me personally, and maybe some other people, is just I guess, you know, maybe, you know, I was raised to be a strong, independent woman, you know, and the thought that, oh, I can do this, I can educate, I can be the mom, I can be the dad, I can bring home the money, I can, it's just too much. So I think for me, it took some, it just took me to kind of be humble and say, you know what, I actually can't do all of this, and I do need some help. And what resources are available to me and to us. So that has been helpful for us to tap into kind of state resources. I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
like, and I know that if you do so that's one idea, is just, you know, see what's available for your state, your income level, see what you can get coming in. That has been helpful for me. And I know that some private schools, or Sudbury schools, or self-directed schools, they do have financial aid. So if you're looking at a Sudbury school, you could definitely apply and qualify for some type of financial aid. Because if you're talking public versus doing this, right? Public is free. And now you're talking about not only adding an expense, but adding, if you're talking about unschooling, now you're also, it's a job in itself, right? To be the facilitator. So yeah,
Yeah. Yes, so much of what you said is so yes. I also think life takes us through phases. So for me, my path has been so different. Like there have been times where it was like, it was so empowering for me to bring in the money and take care of my daughter as a single mom. I was also a single mom for 3 years. Then there have been times where it was very clear that it was my time to get support from whether it was my partner, or I have also reached out to state support at times when finances were up and down, and all of these things. So the technical side of things, like how do you get support, and how can you live this life, are very helpful. At the core, I think why belief work is essential is that noticing that all of this is arising for you for a reason. And a lot of times when it is time to get support, like whether the form doesn't really matter, but whether it's reaching out to the state, or whether you have a partner that's willing to support you here, whatever it is, a lot of times what that does is it serves to humble us in a beautiful way. I don't mean humble as in like, oh, I thought I was so great and now I just need to humble my ego. It's more humbling as in you realize how supported you actually are, and how much pressure you were putting on your ego to be the one that has to do everything. When we start to see from a perspective that everything is actually connected, we are all actually one, it becomes almost less personal. It's like, but more personal at the same time. It's a paradox. It's like, wow, this experience that I'm experiencing actually is me, and I can relax into all the seasons of my life knowing that the oneness of life is supporting me wherever we are. And I think what makes finding the practicalities so useful is when we make it fun. So when we realize that whatever's making it not fun, whatever's making it seem stressful, we don't have to, you can do whatever you want, but it's very useful to see it as bringing up beliefs, negative beliefs for you. When we bring those beliefs into alignment, then we can move forward with finding the technicalities, which are going to be different for everybody, but there's definitely some useful ones that we can get into that I think are very relevant for everybody. But those things become an art form and a fun game to play to figure out how it was going to work for everybody in our unique situation.
I love that. I just popped a little Lozenger. So anyways, yeah, and that's what I find is that I I go through these periods of like, I like the ebb and flow of kind of feeling like I can, I've got this, and then I kind of, something comes up and it blows up, and then I'm like, no, I need help. And it's funny because I feel like as soon as I reach out for help, it doesn't matter if I call my sister and I'm like, can you please just like take her for a couple hours? Like, I feel like just that reaching out for help, the universe hears it, okay, she's asking for help. And then the opportunities can come in, like you said, whether it's an application for some state help, or maybe some, I know some other things, especially since I'm home. I know that a lot of homeschoolers will, if there's a mom that isn't working, she'll take a group of kids to her home a couple times a week. Or there's a really cool thing from the Association of Self-Directed Education where they're doing it's called, I think it's Freedom Flyers, where like one of the parents will take a group of kids out for like 4 or 5 hours just out into the world. And so just like some small ways to generate income while if you're choosing the homeschooling world. So I know that those, that's been a couple ideas that have come to me. And I thought, I'm definitely like, at this point, I'm just looking into everything. We're looking into tiny homes. We do have a camper, which is awesome. And I know a lot of families actually go on the road full time to release the stress and the costs of keeping a home. Which is something we've thought about a little bit, but my daughter and I would love to have a home and to travel. But I know that a lot of families do just go on the road and just travel. And now they've got just the one expense of being in campgrounds and traveling. So that's a potential solution. I know that won't work for everyone. I don't even think it will work for me, but the tiny home thing is really appealing to me because I love the idea of community. I just have this vision of, a bunch of like-minded families and like a common area and yoga and homeschooling and just shared meals and ceremonies and meditations and dance parties. And I could go on and on, but yeah, I mean, just some ideas that have come to me for strategies on, with expenses and getting help from the community, because I notice personally, and I hear from others, when you do choose homeschooling and unschooling, sometimes it can get really quiet and lonely, because you're not, I know for sure that I miss that sense of community when we did go to school, when my daughter was in Montessori school. I mean, it was a great community and there was always fun things happening. So the idea of living in community, a tiny house community or something like that, is super appealing to me, not only financially, but also, just from a community connection perspective.
Totally. I hear that a lot actually from unschoolers or homeschoolers who might live more rurally, especially that it might be isolating. But I think I actually we were just chatting with someone. I remember, I think it was within the self-directed Facebook group so as a framework, the way that I like to look at it is knowing that my core needs, what I really need, I can meet. And if there is something that's telling me that I can't, that's typically what makes the need feel negative, is like, oh, I can't do that. That needs to be looked at so that we can open up to all the possibilities that are in front of us. And that's a process of self-discovery. So that in itself is really fun to go through. But on the other end, sometimes this can carry like a dual lesson. Sometimes the feeling of like needing to be around people all the time can come from also a lack belief, where we're not filling our own cup, or we're not giving ourselves enough self-love, and we have sort of healing to do there. So for me, it always brings up those dual points to look at when I feel those feelings arise. I think it really matters the motivation that we're coming from, basically. That's the core of what we look at whenever we decide to partake in any action, is like, where is the motivation coming from? What am I trying to seek here?
Yeah, I like how Bashar says, is it incitement or is it anxiety? You know, what is motivating you to make this decision, or to, you know, to do this action? And, you know, I definitely check in with myself on that as well. And you know, I'm pretty optimistic and hopeful. I think that for me, when I do find a stressor coming up, you know, just to remember that it is an opportunity. And to just kind of be gentle with myself when I'm kind of in the heat of the moment. And reaching out for help is so awesome. So, and that's really part of the reason why I thought it would be nice to create the group, is that, you know, a lot of us are not in a school where we have a bunch of people to talk to and to bounce ideas off of. So I thought it would be, you know, awesome to co-create a virtual community, so that we can talk about these things, and people can have a place to bounce ideas off of, where you're outside of the kind of mainstream philosophy and belief system, where you're like, hey, anything is possible and it's all within. And, you know, yeah, so thank you for helping and you know, offering these I mean, I want to say alternative, but I don't know if that's the right word for our lifestyle or strategies.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I feel like it has carried a vibration of alternative, which I'm so thankful for, actually, because it has helped me to step into who I am to a degree that I'm not sure I would have done before if it was like just widely accepted. It's like requires you to break through a lot of I don't know, that sort of, you know, that's a lot of people's journey, I think, here in this like earth realm, is like taking on a more alternative, whatever it is, personhood, and then being able to come to full self-acceptance through that is so it's really is a gift.
Awesome. Okay, so you are comfortable with the alternative, with that word.
Yeah, that's cool
Okay.
with me.
All
You know
right.
what I was thinking also is maybe we could share some practical ways of making, let me see just what comes to my head. So for us, our when we started, believe it or not, was one of the most financially stressful times of my entire life. I won't go into too much of a detail, but like, I lost a business that I had been running for 10 years. The market totally crashed. I had all my money tied in the business and it wasn't making profit. And both me and my partner were working full time, just trying to not to lose all the money that we had in the business. So we had like zero income at the time. At that time we had 3 children. Now, we were dedicated to do unschooling, but believe me, all the thoughts were coming up that were telling me, you know, this isn't possible, and maybe you should just send them to regular school, you know, all that stuff coming up, because it would have just made it easier. But there was commitment there where it was like, no, this is, you know, it almost wasn't a choice, because it felt so right that I just had to do it. But that's not to say that those thoughts weren't coming up that would try to, you know, convince you otherwise. So as we decided to sort of dive, okay, we're making this decision, this is what we're doing. The way that my partner and I pulled it off at that time was he would go to work one day, I would stay home, and then we would switch off until just through searching on the internet, I didn't even really know what I was looking for. I was just looking up unschooling stuff. I noticed that in the area that we had just moved to, there was a Sudbury school that was right around the corner. And so private school sounds like kind of scary when you're in a position where you have no profit. But I had noticed that they would offer sliding scale, and you know, I didn't even expect the amount of support that they offered our family at that time. I did not expect that. I just stepped into the school and went to go apply, not knowing what the answer was going to be, just knowing that it felt right. And they worked with us to a degree that was extremely helpful and probably changed my kid's life. I'm so grateful. But I just want to put out there that so Sudbury was started. One of their core values is that they turn no student away, type of a thing. Like, they want to work with families. They want to make this accessible for everyone. So if that is helpful for anyone who maybe haven't reached out to a Sudbury because they're like, oh, I don't have the funds, I would say just give it a shot, because you never know how much support you can get.
Yay. I love that story. Thank you for sharing.
Yay.
You know, that kind of reminds me when I first enrolled my daughter in a private Montessori school, it felt so, like you said, it just felt so right. And I didn't even look at the tuition. I remember that she was going to, we had moved, and we realized the right across the street was a small preschool. And we had met the woman that ran the preschool because she was having a yard sale. And we bought like a really cool table from her. And she said, well, I have a school right here. So long story short, it seemed great. And I enrolled my daughter in the preschool across the street. And within a couple months, it was not good. I was picking my daughter up, and she was crying because they kept cutting recess to do more academics. The teachers were running behind. And she said, Mommy, we didn't get to go outside today. And at the time she was 4. And I didn't understand that it was academic heavy. When I had enrolled her, she said, oh, they're out 2 hours every day. We love outdoor time, but that had shifted. So I had dropped her off, and she started to not want to go to this preschool. And I had dropped her off, and she was upset, and I was upset. And I said, we have to start alternative. This is not going to work. And I went and got a coffee, went to Starbucks, and I just Googled like Montessori. And I called like 2 or 3 of them, and the first 2 didn't really sound that good, and the third one sounded awesome. And I said, well, which location? And she said, well, why don't you come in this week? If your daughter is that unhappy, just come visit us. And how about, so I had made the appointment, and I only knew the address and the name. I didn't go to the website. I didn't look at the tuition. And then when we went on this tour, my daughter loved it. And she's intuitive. I'm intuitive. We pulled into the parking area, and they had a really big totem pole. And she said, oh, this is my school. I know this school. This is where I'll be going. And I said, okay, great. We didn't even have the tour. She didn't meet anyone. I didn't meet anyone. And then as we're taking the tour, the woman told me the tuition. And I was like, my heart dropped. But luckily we did apply for financial aid, and we got financial aid, thank God. And so that was kind of my first time. I had read about child-led education for many years, but that was the first time I had seen it executed successfully. And so that's just another story. Long story short, financial aid is available. So I think that if someone is really called to this, you got to just kind of put yourself out there and look around, and you have to, I call it feeling humble, just if you need the financial help, ask for it, and hopefully you get it. And if it doesn't come from a school, or, I feel like there's so many ways when it comes down to it. Once you get yourself into alignment and say, you know what, this feels so right, we're going to make this work. I think once you make that decision, then the universe can give you the opportunities and strategies. Because even in the homeschool world, I wrote a post and I shared it in the self-directed group that when I do talk about homeschooling or unschooling, and a lot of times what I hear from people is, oh, we're not rich, we can't do that, or I have to work, like there's no way we could live without my salary. I think that's an immediate barrier that people put up. But if it's important, you can make it work. I believe that if it's something that feels important and feels right, that opportunities will allow that to happen.
I second that motion. Yes.
I
I totally agree. I totally agree. And this is why the unschooling process, or life in general, but look, we're inside the container of unschooling here. This is why it offers not just so much to your child, it offers a ton to your child, but it offers a ton to you too, because it's allowing you to go through all of these little mini transformations that are so valuable. Okay, so something that's coming to my mind right now is, so we found a school now that'll work for us, coming from our story. We found a school that'll work for us. I want to make clear that as a practice, I stay flexible to life. I stay open to life all the time. It's not really about getting attached to anything. So it's fucking awesome that we got financial aid and we're able to go to this school for whatever. But if my children ever told me that, you know, Mom, I'm not really feeling that school anymore, or there's something else that's calling to me, I listen and we explore those situations and trust that whatever is coming up for anybody in the family, the children, the parents, whatever, we can honor. Now, that is a fine-tuning area, because sometimes what's coming up for us are negative beliefs. What's coming up for us are these limiting sort of stuff that's making us feel negative, and then we project it outwards and say, well, I just don't like that circumstance, I don't like that scenario. And that's why we explore it. It's not that we jump to any conclusions, we just explore what's coming up. But so our situation transforms by the daily. It's always changing. So my kids now, let me just share something so magical. Okay. So I was getting the feeling, Madeline's on this call and she knows, because we were on the phone when I was getting this feeling about a year ago, that I didn't want my kids to go to school 5 days a week anymore. For a while, that was really working for us. It was perfect. My kids loved it. They got the social environment. We were able to work, get our finances in order, all the stuff. There came a point where I was like, it's no longer resonating. Something is just telling me that I want the kids home a couple days a week. I have all these ideas and exciting things. Let's do it. And normally that would not be permitted at a school that you have to register for and stuff, and they need attendance and all that type of thing. The pandemic hit, and just like magic, it was crazy, they offered a hybrid program where you can keep your kids home. You can choose whatever. You have utter freedom. You can do 100% virtual, or you can do, 1 day at school, whatever. It's all days at school, whatever you want. Now, I say that not really about my specific school that I'm going to, or my specific scenario. I say that as, I think that as we listen to what comes up for us, and as we have the vibration that we trust that, and it's pretty strong trust, right? Life responds like that. It's like, okay, yes, you can absolutely get what's for you. In fact, you can't even keep what's for you away. You can't fuck up what's for you. You can't keep it away. It's coming. So the process really is just getting in alignment with what's for you, learning how to listen, because so many times what we're actually listening to is negative beliefs, ego, whatever word you want to call it, not the true self. And that doesn't feel good. And that's not going to give the impression that you can trust life. That's not going to give the impression that you can trust what's coming up for you. And it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's just because maybe we haven't learned how to interact with our own mind and our own emotions that are arising. But once we work through all of that, and you start to get closer to I like to say closer to how the higher self sees, closer to how the higher mind sees. And you do that through belief work, really. Then it starts to get much clearer, that sort of resonating, some people call it intuition, whatever it is. It's just connection. It's connection to the movement and the purpose of your life. Things sort of, I don't know, are easier to read and fall into place easier. So, end of source message.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. That I agree totally. And yes, that I'm happy to hear you. I had never heard your story before, and I was kind of wondering, and I think people probably do wonder, how are they making that happen? And I think for a while, everyone just thought I was wealthy. I was just independently wealthy. And, oh, people who do this just have a ton of money and they're just lucky enough to have money. Not that we're not lucky, it's not necessary. It's not, but there are other ways to generate luck or opportunity or synchronicity, but that is really about alignment. And that is what we were talking about last week. A little bit was just like ways to get back into alignment. And I think one of the biggest ways, which we've talked about, is that when something negative comes up, to not kind of run and hide or judge yourself for it, but to say, hey, wait a minute, this is an opportunity. Let me actually look at this and see what, like you said, where it's coming from. Because when you can uncover those false beliefs, the root of those negative experiences or those triggers, once you identify it and let it go, that energy then comes back into, oh, this is what I want. I do love this freedom lifestyle. I do love, for me, I love traveling. I love following our passion. I love when my daughter follows her passion. It's magical. It's awesome. So I think when it comes to like, well, wait a minute, if the financial issue is really just an alignment, right? It's really an alignment issue. So how do I get myself into alignment? And I think probably the top way, especially for parents that want to unschool or use self-directed education, you think I'm doing this for my child, but it's more about us and our healing than it really is about them. I mean, all of this stuff which is a gift. So just knowing, okay, all of these triggers, all of these situations, challenges that are coming up are actually a gift. So when you can get to that mindset of just knowing that, and then knowing how to kind of decode your system, I mean, I think that's the really the number one. And then just being open to seeing what opportunities, like you said, those magical moments when the school says, hey, you know what, you want to go hybrid, here's your option. Then in the same is what happened to me. I didn't even know that there was financial aid available at that Montessori that I happened to pop into, that my daughter decided she was going to before I heard the tuition was $20,000 a year. I didn't even know that, and she was already sold, and now I'm looking at a bill that I did not have the money for. But luckily, it like you said, that it fell into place, thankfully.
Yay! Yeah. Oh my goodness. So what was coming up for me from what you were saying as well is, okay, so there's this idea out there that we need to figure out how to be the perfect parent and like study all the tools for how to be the most conscious parent. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like, of course, let's look into self-directed or self development. But okay, so for me, there's like a really easy way to figure out how to be the best parent. And I mean the most unique parent for your child and what's actually true for you. And that is just to focus on your own healing and to focus on your own mind and beliefs and stuff. It's like as we naturally go through our healing, we actually naturally become the parent that our child needs. It's like this really effortless way. One feels more like an outward way. I don't know how to describe it in energy, but I feel this sort of outward pour of energy where it's like, let me just memorize a way to be and figure out how to treat a child and all the things that you're supposed to do and say. And it feels a little bit like stress. It feels a little bit like not fun, like martyrdom, even perhaps like self-sacrifice, a restriction of who you actually are, trying to be something that's an image of the good parent or what people think the perfect parent is. And that's so sweet. It has such good intentions behind it. However, there's this gentle, enlightening way that you naturally become more of who you are actually. And that is through doing the self-work. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not actually about working on the child or anything like that. It's always about working on yourself, that's actually how life is designed. The whole thing, from my perspective, of course, this is a belief, but the whole
Right.
thing is sort of designed to be an awakening experience for you. As you use life for your own evolution, which is what it's for, everything falls into alignment. You become the parent that your kid needs. You become the partner that your romantic partner needs, whatever it is, right? That because you're using it for what it's intended. So it all falls into place.
Awesome. Yes. Yes, I agree. And I think for me, sometimes like when I'm in the heat of the moment and things are coming up, triggers, challenges, for me, like immediately is just compassion, and not get into self-judgment. Because as soon as I get into self-judgment, I'm kind of down a downward spiral where I can take a break. You know what? I'm feeling a little off. Why don't you go have some free time? Mom's going to go, I usually say I'll meditate, or, I'll go, what I'm doing is getting myself back into alignment. And then in that point, once I pause, a lot of in mindfulness, it's the power of the pause. I'm out of alignment. Something doesn't feel right. Let's pause. I'm going to go get myself back into alignment. And then the process of coming back into alignment is remembering that when challenges and triggers, they're all just yummy, juicy opportunities for more growth and self-healing. Then I can kind of get myself back into alignment and then kind of analyze and see what was underneath it. But I usually can't analyze it when I'm in that moment of being triggered or feeling out of alignment. For me, when I'm out of alignment, I just have to recognize that I'm not in a good place. I've been triggered. Go to my happy place, take a break. Instead of going at that tension right there, I usually pause, get myself back into alignment, and then I can take a look at, I usually do some writing or journaling to see what's underneath the situation.
Totally. Absolutely. So I think there's two perspectives that I like to use on that exact subject. For those who might not be aware, so there's actually a brain model that explains why that happens to us. I am not a brain scientist, so I'll explain it in the most layman's way possible, but just very quickly, because some of you may already know this, but it's so enlightening for those who don't. So we have an upper brain and a lower brain, roughly, and the upper brain is responsible primarily for higher mental functioning, so like critical thinking, self-control or self-regulation, problem solving, and you could even say spiritual states and things like that, where the lower region is much more ancient, and it's responsible for survival. So it responds to threats, basically, and it tries to protect you, fight or flight. When we are triggered, this is so beautiful, by the way. I just have so many downloads coming in as I'm talking. But when we are triggered, it activates that lower region of the brain that says there's danger here. Now, it's interesting because even our child can trigger us. Triggers are very subtle. It might not be like as obvious as like my life is in danger. Sometimes it's as subtle as my peace is in danger. My life path is in danger. My identity is in danger. How people think of me is in danger. Whatever it is, we have perceived something as a threat. It goes to the lower part of the brain. Now, the blood or whatever it is, I actually don't know the details on that, but somehow a lot of the energy in the body is sent to that lower region of the brain, and not to the upper region. It's spending all of its energy in self-preservation mode. So we actually don't have access to all of those higher mental functionings that are actually going to bring reason into the scenario. So that's why it's important to, as Andrea said, to actually pause, to take a break, to do some deep breathing, and to be able to reactivate that upper region of the brain. Now, to close this, because I know that was a pretty long explanation, There's also a spiritual explanation for this just shortly, and it's vibrational. We can look at the body as a symbol of spirit. It's not primary, like we are beyond the body, but we're in a body experiencing a body right now. So of course, symbolically, life would set it up where the upper region of the brain is where the more spiritual, higher in alignment sort of mental functioning happens, and the lower region of the brain is where it's more like fight or flight, that type of stuff. It's symbolic, right? So as we find alignment with the truth of who we are, the truth of how reality works, things like that, we actually have access to higher vibrational modes of thinking, higher vibrational dimensions of thought that offer us opportunity that we just can't see when we're stuck in sort of a slightly lower density energy. So a lower density energy sees life as a threat. It sees something that has to fight against. And that's where almost all of the negative responses and traumatic sort of responses come from, is viewing life as our enemy. So I know it's a spiritual practice for many people to view life as actually your co-conspirator for your awakening. It's actually working out for your highest good. As we start to fall in alignment with all of that, the lower region of the brain, really it's your spiritual self, is becoming more aligned with the truth of reality and has access to those higher vibrational frequencies, whereas before it was manifesting what seemed like a very threatening thing. So there you go.
Yay. Awesome. I love that explanation. And now I'm remembering it from like my mindfulness training. So thank you. And I guess,
Yeah.
so, and the way I like to remember it too, is like when you're in the higher part of the brain, it's here, your third eye. You know, a lot of spiritual people understand that, you know, this is where we're getting our intuition and downloads and things like that. But, you know, that this is where we're getting the, where we can heal, where we can see our perspective from a different light, and get into the self-healing from that higher mind or third eye, you know, pineal gland, all that is, I guess some people might resonate with those terms. So yay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry,
And
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just like, yes.
awesome. Yeah. And also, you know, from back here, sometimes my daughter and I call it animal mode, you know, and it's fight, flight, or sometimes it can also be freeze when you're just like, oh my God, you know, when you freeze. And I notice when she gets into that mode, and she can call it out on me too. And sometimes we just call it animal mode. And when I notice when it happens with her or another child, I just get to basics like fresh air, water, food, breathing, like you said. If there is a threat, then it's just like, you know, freeze, you know, run like hell, whatever. But if it's not an actual threat, let's address the core needs and get ourselves back into alignment. So
Totally. And I this conversation, it looks like we're getting close to 4 o'clock, but this conversation can go very, very deep because there's fine tuning here. So I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, you should act like nothing is a threat to you in terms of like putting yourself in danger. No, we don't do that. It's more like we trust that whatever life is bringing our way, we have the tools to, if we stay close to who we are, we have the tools to approach that scenario in whatever way is meaningful to us. Now, a core understanding of spirituality is that death is not to be the enemy. Death is actually not, you know, what we may think it is. So it's also working through some of those really intense fears of death, which I believe are the core root of like really threatening situations, right? We're fearing death. But it doesn't mean that like in a scenario of, let's say like a rabid dog or something runs up to you, that you don't like remove yourself from the situation in whatever way is most in alignment. It just means that when we're sitting with ourselves and we're going through our everyday life, we notice how much we're living from fear, how much we're believing that life, you know, we need to really protect ourselves to a certain degree that it becomes not helpful anymore. It's instead of doing that, we look at how that's making us feel negatively, and we work on ourselves to stay in alignment so that we are present and aware for how to respond in a balanced way to whatever pops up in in our reality.
Awesome. Yes, I thank you. Yeah, I mean, if there is a danger, then when that fight or flight or freeze kicks in, it's there for a reason, and it will help you, it will give you that adrenaline rush you need to escape it, if it's like you said, a rabid dog, or if there is an emergency, then just, you let that kick in, because that will naturally protect yourself. But most of the time when we start to get triggered and out of alignment, it's not an actual real threat. It's really a belief kicking in, like you said, and it's something that can be healed. But of course, you got to take care of yourself. And if something, you don't want to, there's a time to put this, and my brother will call it like psychobabble, which it's, there's a time to say, hey, I'm going to pause and let's analyze this. There's a time to do that. And there's a time not to do that. When your child is in the middle of being triggered, you don't want to say, hey, let's analyze. They're not able to discuss what's happening. You just have to get them calm. You just have to, get them. So you must use discernment as well.
Totally.
Awesome.
And a really, I think we're at the end, but a really refreshing note to end on is that you don't have to worry about that stuff. Focus on the healing, focus on your own perspective, because in the moment of tense situations where there actually is something that you have to act fast, you are guided towards what is, as long as you're, in alignment, you're a lot of times guided towards what the appropriate action is. There's not much to fear there. So yay.
Yay. Well, if it's okay with you, just like the last couple minutes, do you want to talk about just like some fun events? I know you just posted one. Do you want to just talk about it just a little bit before we end?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. So Andrea and I will share a little bit about what we have to offer. So right now, for local, actually, you don't have to be super local, but in Anaheim Hills, California, which is Southern California, we're doing a Mystic Mama Soul retreat. So this retreat is designed for fun, for relaxation, and for mental healing. It's the whole package. So we're going to, if you want to know more about that, you can look at the website. It's mysticmamasoul.com. We're offering a bunch of amazing services here. There's a 30-minute massage, one-on-one Reiki session, one-on-one oracle card reading and processing session, sort of like a coaching session. But there's also 2 group workshops, biofield tuning, organic food, just the entire package. Plus you're working with parenting coaches that come from a spiritual background, which I think is so unique, because you're getting this perspective of people who really understand you, you know what I mean, and give you what you're looking for, not diluted, like really to the source. Okay, also, if you're interested, I offer one-on-ones as well. I'm a conscious parenting coach, and feel free to reach out to me on Facebook, send me a DM. I offer sliding scale sessions by donation. Do not let the funds keep you from talking to me. Yeah, if you want more information, just contact me. Yay.
Yeah, I was just, I'd love to get out to California. I'm not sure that will happen, but is it just like a one-day event? Is it like a weekend or?
So this is just a one-day event, but it's all day long. It's at a private residence in Anaheim Hills. It's like an acre property. So we're going to spend a lot of time outside. Some things will be inside. But this one is a one-day event. So Anaheim, California is where Disneyland is as well. For anyone who has children and might be interested in coming about, if you need help with childcare, we can help you out. Just reach out to us privately and we can help figure that out for you. So you can attend this event in an area where you might not have all the local connections that you usually have.
Yay, yay, sounds awesome. Thank you. I'm very tempted. I'll take a look.
Yay.
What I wanted to mention, I've been doing it for a long time now, but I just started to offer new moon circles on Zoom. So I usually try to schedule it right at the new moon date. And so it's on Zoom, but it's just as great and touching. And it's a real way to relax, connect. I always make sure, I'm an angel card reader. So I always make sure that I call on the angels so it stays high vibe and really kind of allows us to be kind of in a bubble of I can think of it energetically, but it allows us to keep the vibe high so that anything that comes up, we can work through. So we do a series of releasing the old, getting in touch with our intentions, where we're at, what we're looking to manifest. We do a really nice, relaxing guided meditation. And then I do some like mini readings for everybody. And there's also a way for you to build your own intuition. So that's every new moon. I just had it this week and I was thinking, oh, I couldn't, maybe some people in the group would be interested. So it won't be again until next month, but I'll probably start sharing that with the group. If anyone, is interested in being in spiritual community, it's fun, it's comfortable, it's safe. It's definitely not anything I record and put on Zoom. It's very private and confidential, but it's also fun. And we generate a lot of good supportive energy. So New Moon Circle, I've been calling it New Moon Magic. We've got some mindfulness techniques in there as well. So yes, all are welcome, and I'll share more as those come up.
Yay, thank you so much. I'm interested. I might just join you for that next New Moon Circle. Thank you.
Yay. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Angela. This is fun. I love talking. I hope other people find these conversations useful. I'll definitely upload this. Hopefully next week we can get back, get on live. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye, Andrea.
Yes,
Bye,
thank you.
Madeline. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.